Greetings, builder, and welcome to the Lapis Kingdom. I'm the Blue Regent, and today we're going to be building the basic shape for our larger crop farms that we're going to be using to continue to feed ourselves and to expand our livestock population, as well as we're going to build a storehouse today, which is going to help us kind of head off the ultimate problem you always run into in a survival series, which is where do I store everything that I'm gathering? So if you're ready, grab your work boots, grab your tools, and let's begin. I've been running around kind of trying to figure out where I want my crop plots to be, and I think this is roughly where I want them to go. So I think I'm going to build a relatively big space using cobblestone, and I think it's just going to I'm just going to lay this down, and what I'll probably end up going back through is I have some slabs and I've got some walls. Oops. I've got some walls as well. And I think I'm just going to kind of lay this out in no particular pattern. And the goal is to kind of have just like a semi-organic shape going. I'm probably going to fill in some of this dirt here too. Because a flat field just doesn't really look the best. When we start building actual towns, actual settlements and everything, that will be when we kind of flatten stuff out a little bit more. Draw that out a little bit more. Draw this hill out a little bit more. That'll be kind of when we start to see a little bit more flat, more square fields. But if these are supposed to be kind of medievally peasant ran fields and they're not necessarily a full-blown farm, they're not gonna have like the most efficient shape to them. Medieval farming and older styles of farming have, they were pretty primitive. It was pretty primitive for a long time, and so the idea of like real square, right angled farm fields, that's something that kind of came on later. And even when it did happen, farming practice were still pretty primitive. So to kind of just give this a little bit better of a shape and make it just feel a little nicer, we're actually going to make it rougher looking, which seems kind of backwards, because you'd think if we wanted everything to feel like it looked really clean, you'd want it to be more of like a straight shape. But I think kind of messing with the shape of it a little bit makes it just feel a little more like somebody said, hey, this is a nice spot to grow stuff, and they just kind of slapped down some temporary walls and kind of went with it, versus using like horses or oxen to till it. So I think this is what I want our fields to be. And now if I want to divide it into thirds, and we're gonna have kind of like the 3-field system going here. And when I say thirds, I mean I want to divide it into 3 parts. It's not going to be divided into perfect thirds. So don't get your hopes up that I am counting how many blocks are in each portion of this. I'm kind of just going with it. Carry this one this way. Well, I used all my cobblestone bricks, so walls, you're taking over for now, like that, I think. And then I think I want this one to work itself this way. I'm gonna grass to help guide me here. Oh yeah, and that'll kind of break up that flat spot. Okay, so we've got 3 fields here. Are they all the same size? Probably not. Is this equally divided up? Most definitely not. However, what this gives us is a spot that, you know, we can kind of start farming in. So, you know, we'll get our fields going in here, and we'll probably do like wheat. This looks like it might be the bigger one. Wheat, carrots, potatoes probably is how we're going to do that. And I do want to keep the beetroot farm going for now. So this little farm area over here will probably stay beetroots. I don't ever use them, but they're good for breeding pigs, I believe. So that might be why I just kind of hold on to this. It'll probably be phased out over time. So now that we've got our crop farm going over there, complete with crops going, before we decorate it, we're going to build a building that we can use to store everything that we're going to be gathering from it. So over here I have the very beginnings of the foundation marked out for what is going to be a granary. And so I kind of have these divided up. These are, I think, 5x5 squares. So there's 2 corners, 3 gaps, or 3 block gap in the middle, and we're going across 3 panels, for lack of a better term, this way, and then we're coming across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this direction. So we can do the other side to kind of complete that. So we're going to go starting from the corner. We're going to come over 1, 2, 3, place a block, 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block, 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block, 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block, and you can see we're lining up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, place a block, and then we'll come across this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be the outline of the foundation for the building. I'm going to get that filled in. So now that we got our foundation figured out, I'm going to come up 3 blocks on all of the stone brick. Oops, that was only 2. On all of the stone brick places. And these are going to function as kind of a, like a support for the rest of the building. So I want you to think kind of like these were built first and then everything in between was filled in afterward. So now that we have our support pillars built up, I'm going to go around and I'm going to fill in all of the spaces in between with cobblestone wall. And the reason that I'm going with cobblestone wall instead of cobblestone blocks is there's a noticeable difference in depth here. And so that kind of breaks up this flat surface, kind of like we talked about when the house was being built. I talked a lot about using different textures, but if I went one flat, like one depth all the way down, this would get really boring looking after a while. And so I'm actually changing the depth of the build by using walls. Now, in one of the more recent updates, I don't remember off the top of my head while recording this right now which update it was, they went through and made it so that if you have multiple walls stacked up on each other, it ends up becoming a solid face like this. There used to be gaps and stuff in there, and it used to be kind of funky looking. But doing it this way, you know, they really made it so that there's just one more texture, I guess, for lack of a better word, one more depth when building. And this just, this just kind of makes everything look a little bit nicer. It breaks up flat surfaces and it just kind of makes things look a little bit more realistic. So as you can see, the different depths in here just give this a little bit more character. Like I said, if I had gone with cobblestone blocks all the way up, this would have just been one smooth surface all the way across. And because I'm using different textures, it wouldn't look too bad, but just having this slight depth difference here just helps out a little bit with shadows and everything else to just give it a little bit more character. So I throw these wooden steps in, and these are oak steps with some upside down oak steps underneath, because if this is supposed to be like a food storehouse, in theory you would want everything to sit higher than ground level. And the reason is it's going to help keep rodents out. And so this whole build is actually going to sit higher than normal ground level, and the entire purpose of that is to keep all of the pretend Minecraft rats out of our wheat stores. So using oak slabs, I have started putting in the floor, and you notice there's some gaps in here because, again, you know, when building survival, especially this early on, it's kind of a good idea to try to remain semi-economic about how you use your blocks. Obviously, this is kind of a grandiose build for this early in a survival game, and so I do know that I'm using a lot of blocks. But I just want to try to limit how much gathering I have to do as best I can. These cobblestone blocks kind of just help solidify the structure of the base, and it kind of just helps, again, break up the palette so that this isn't all just oak slabs along the floor. So matching the outside, the inside of this build is going to have, once again, stone bricks with a 3-block gap in between. And this is just kind of to help build up the structure a little bit more and make it seem a little bit sturdier on the inside as well. And then on the inside, for now, we're also doing 3 blocks up. To frame in the doorways for each of the individual storage rooms, we're just doing a horizontal 3-block oak wood line across, and then to support it, we're just doing a 2-block high vertical oak logs. And this just kind of helps, once again, break up the color scheme in here, helps it from getting, or helps keep it get it, it helps prevent it get monotonous, and it kind of just, it ultimately also looks like this is a structure that was added once the stone foundation was built in. This structure is based off of a Roman, I'm going to mess this up, Hurrium. And if you Google that, and I'll throw the spelling of that up here. If you Google image search that, some of the ruins of them, there isn't much of an internal structure, and that leads me to believe that the flooring was probably made out of wood. That way they could easily repair it and everything, and then the main structure was made out of stone. And so this kind of, like I said, it helps break up the palette on the inside. I've got a missing block there. Fixed. That helps break up the palette on the inside, and again, it also is kind of based off of an actual structure. And so this just kind of, you know, this look here kind of fills 2 roles. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm filling in between each room with cobblestone walls as the wall. The other pro of using cobblestone walls, especially, or well, not just cobblestone walls, any of the walls in the game, the other pro to it is it also gives you more space. And it's not a ton more space, but if you notice, I've got a little bit of a gap on these 3 walls where I've used wall blocks instead of solid blocks, and it just kind of makes the room look a little more open. Plus you get this really cool effect of, it looks like there's like a support pillar in here as well. So this just kind of like helps, again, helps keep everything from looking flat, and it also just gives you some nice bonus textures as well. So I've got this doorway built out a little bit, kind of just to make it look like the base is a little bit sturdier. And so now I'm going to work my way up here. I've got some classic dirt scaffolding going on here, and I think I'm going to bring these up 2 more. And again, I'm going to fill this space in with cobblestone walls, and I think I want to go... Oops. Did I fall? Yeah, I fell. All the way down. I think I want to go... Get myself back up there. Like that. And then from here, I'm going to start building my roof. Now, if you remember when we built this building, this house over here, I talked about kind of having a variation in shades to kind of help break everything up. And one of the ways that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use polished granite along with the regular granite to get a slightly different look for the roof. So I'm going to get a nice crouch, walk back build here, and I'm going to build this gable part. So now that I've got that going all the way down, the next goal here is to basically bring down the next shade that we're using for the roof. So we're going to do an alternating polished granite, granite slab, polished granite, granite slab, all the way down the roof to kind of just help break up that monotone color. So there's one side done, and as you can see, you have this alternating pattern of like a smoother kind of lighter shade with these outlines, and then a more kind of broken up darker shade. And if you come down here, it just makes it look a little less flat, which is nice for when you start getting more buildings going, to kind of have like a, you don't want your skyline to just have a, you don't want your skyline to have just like a singular appearance. This is basically what the front's going to look like. Now there is going to be some more decoration that happens, but like I said, as long as each wall is completely surrounded by another block, even if it's a wall block, it completely fills the space in. Now, if I were to take away any of the, like any one block in here, see, all of a sudden it becomes obvious that it's a wall again. But as long as it's completely surrounded, you have this nice solid space in here, and it goes all the way up to the roof here. And there is the completed roof. Like I was saying earlier, you can just tell the difference between the two different types of granite blocks, and it just breaks up the profile and makes it look a little more appealing and easier on the eyes. I've also added these oak fences to the corners. They kind of just help get rid of that one so we don't have like this weird thing going here. It kind of just helps to add a little bit more to the structure. So now I'm going to go around and decorate the outside of this before we move in and do a little decorating on the inside. So the outside is done being decorated, and I used these stone brick walls along the outside to kind of add, once again, to change the depth a little bit, and also to just make it look like it's a little bit more reinforced. So if you look at it from an angle, it gives it some nice shape and definition, does some cool lighting effect stuff here, and it just makes it look like it has more structural integrity. Outside of the front here, I did like this like kind of pillar concept, again, just to kind of accentuate the front door here. The front door is made out of a spruce door, and then these are all spruce trapdoors here. If you don't know how to stack trapdoors, there's a couple ways to do it, but really time-saving wise, the easiest way to do it is to build one, and then you can just hold shift, click on the next one, and then you can work your way up like that. As far as the decoration in the interior goes, I added these cross-running beams to kind of like add some more structural support on the inside, as well as these spruce slabs running across the top to kind of cap it off. And then there is some oak planks along the top here, again, to just kind of break up the color a little bit. It matches the floor a little bit, but there isn't so much of it that it becomes overwhelming. Something that I did on the inside of the rooms to give the effect that they're going to be a little bit more cramped is I actually brought the spruce slab down one level. So if you notice, this is the top half of a block, This is going to be the bottom half. I did this for two reasons. Like I said, it makes it feel a little bit more cramped in here. Even though it's a well-lit room, it does feel darker because it has a dark ceiling and it's sitting really low. But also, I'm going to be able to hang a lantern from here. And so once I have enough iron stored up and I feel comfortable doing this, I'm going to make a lantern and make lanterns and hang one from the middle block in each room. So we have the basic shape of our crop field set up over here, and we have our storehouse set up behind me. Now, obviously, the rooms in the storehouse are going to have to be filled with treasure chests and barrels so that we can store items in here. And I actually have plans for one of the rooms for it to be able to hide one of the machines, for lack of a better word, that we're going to be using to help gather resources. That is going to be it for today. I look forward to seeing you next time at the Lapis Kingdom. Have a great day. Bye.